What's the word, Harrisburg? My name is Matt Maisel. Hey, we are into March. Spring is almost here. And you know that Harrisburg is one of the most beautiful places in all of PA when it comes to the start of spring into summer, fall. It's great. We're not going to talk about winter. That's okay. But listen, if you get a chance to go out, enjoy the weather, enjoy our parks, we hope you get a chance to do that. Our guest right now on What's the Word, Harrisburg, I've been looking forward to this for a long time because this is a man who I think he and I are going to get along, let's just say, because we both have similar backgrounds. He is the host of the Melanin Report on WITF. He is soon to be the host of the Spark on WITF, replacing the legendary Scott Lamar. He is Marquis Lupton. Thank you so much for joining us on What's the Word.
Oh, thank you for having me, man.
And it is, and we were just joking about this a second ago. It is Marquis. It is not Mark. What were some of the other?
Marquis. Yeah. That was, like I said, that was Aaron kind of moment, messing around with my name. I heard many different renditions of it, but that took the cake.
There's so much exciting things going on for you right now,
Yes,
man.
indeed. Yes, indeed.
What is it about kind of the moment that you're in right now that really kind of has you, feeling good?
Well, it's a very validating moment. A lot of work has been put into this. Just to give a little background on myself, Shippensburg University graduate, class of 2007. If I'm showing my age, you can see the little grays in the beard right there. And right out of Shippensburg, I got into radio. Was a club DJ and board operator for FM 97, and fortunately, but unfortunately, I came in during, I graduated 2007, came in the industry during 2007, and that was the recession and everything like that. So, my stay at FM 97 was short. So my radio career prior to this was cut short. So it's a very validating moment because much like Jordan, baseball was his first love. Radio was my first love. And I got into news, journalism, reporting and everything like that. But I feel most at home at WITF and with radio.
And just so you know, I mean, I graduated, I went to Syracuse 2007, class of 2007, got into my first job in Johnstown at WJC in Johnstown. So I did sports there for 7 years. And so working right as the recession hit and all that stuff, totally, I mean, like I said, you and I, similar kind of paths because you got from radio DJing and you went into TV right after that.
Yeah. And yes, I know America, kind of a weird transition, but
it's not though. I mean, to sit in front or stand in front of a microphone, there's a certain comfort level to that.
Absolutely.
That you throw a microphone in front of someone and they just, if you're comfortable with a microphone, then that is the biggest challenge that I've always found. With working in TV.
Right, and to be honest, I've always been comfortable in front of the camera, always been comfortable in front of the microphone, even growing up, whether it was, the elders speaking it into me or if it's something that I decided to pursue, I wanted to do media. My dad, he was a day laborer at R&R Donnelly. My mom, she was a probation officer, none of which I wanted to do, neither of that. So like media, the attention, the microphone, it was just it's like a switch, naturally, and people won't believe this, but naturally, I'm an introvert, but once the cameras and the lights and the microphone, once all of that comes on, it's like, all right, there's this other switch,
You went from, you were in the Delmarva area, so Maryland, by the Maryland coast, Delaware coast, that area. You worked in Atlantic City as well, and then you made your way back home. To Harrisburg, CBS 21. When was that you came back to Harrisburg?
When I came back to the area, that was 2017.
Okay.
Right after the station I was working at on NBC 40, it was bought out by NBC 10 in Philly. and there were promises, you know, that there's going to be jobs and everything like that. Guys, don't leave. Don't panic. You know, you're going to go
Heard this all before.
You're going to go right to NBC 10. You know, and to give some transparency here, like we were a South Jersey bureau that really didn't have a market number because we were just serving literally South Jersey. So they considered us a Philadelphia market, but we didn't cover any Philadelphia news. So then when it came down that, oh, NBC 10 is going to buy us and then we're going to be NBC 10's South Jersey bureau, it's like, oh my gosh, okay, we're about to be in the big leagues, guys. You know, we're about to be market number 5, guys. That's going to be us.
Yep.
You know, and
we're going to be Philly Bureau.
Yes.
we're a bureau station for NBC 10.
Right.
This is it.
Right.
This is
right.
it.
I made it.
Exactly.
You know, and I will not forget this. It was December 15th. And we got an email that said that the station is going to shut down in 2 weeks.
Oh. Jeez.
And you know, they apologize for what they said in the past, but it's not going to happen, and they wish us well. And that was that for my news career, because it just put such a bad taste in my mouth. Because like we get into this to go to the big boys,
right?
You know, so that just felt like it felt betrayal, you know, and then also with NBC 40. NBC 40 was what I like to call a breaking news channel. So they were more concerned with the breaking news, more concerned with the car crashes, more concerned with
if it bleeds, it leads.
Exactly. Right. You know, and like there's a lot of great stuff that goes on in Atlantic City that I was pulled off of just to cover, you know, that traditional Atlantic City stuff. And I was there during Superstorm Sandy. And there were a lot. I mean,
was it 2013?
That was 2013, 2014.
Okay, yeah.
And there were a lot of great, as we say, fluff pieces,
sure,
human interest stories that were coming out, neighbors helping neighbors, but the network didn't want to see that. You know, like again, another great opportunity, because they were like, hey, send us stuff, and this is coming from the Today Show. Send us stuff, send us images. So it's like, again, here's my, you know,
Can I tell you my quick Today Show story?
Yes.
Okay, so 2011, I know we're getting off a tangent. We're going to do this a lot because we have horror stories.
Yes.
My Today Show 2011 moment was, so I was in Johnstown, sports reporter, when the Joe Paterno, Jerry Sandusky thing happened. So I covered that. I covered all of that from the start, from the get-go.
Oh, man.
And, I mean, that was basically half my resume reel was that week. That week that he was arrested and Paterno got fired and all that stuff. And I remember I did a piece, it was the Tuesday night of that week, where Paterno was kind of under siege, and there was a rally that popped up at his house in State College. Yeah. There was just a giant rally of students and community members going to show their support for Paterno. And I covered that rally, and I put together a package that night, and we were an NBC station, WJC, so the Today Show contacted us that night asking us to send the package. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be on the Today Show tomorrow morning. So I go into the DVR, because I'm not waking up at 7 a.m. Because literally, I mean, I got back to the house at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So I'm not waking up at 7 a.m. To watch the Today Show. So I did the DVR, and when I woke up, I started scrolling through it, and I found the package, and Ron Mott reporting from State College, and he took my package and tracked over everything that I had in there. And it was the most disheartening and demoralizing in that moment. Big deal? No, not at all. But in that moment, it was so demoralizing.
Right, it had to
that the big shot and Ron Mott, good, solid reporter. You don't get to that point without being a really good journalist.
Absolutely.
But man, that stunk. Like he took the good stuff that I MMJ'd. I shot it all. I shot every bit of that piece, and I tracked it, and that was a great Nat sound pops and all that stuff. And it was all tracked over with everything. Yeah. So anyway,
and the fact that you were MMJ at that. Like you having to shoot the work, you having to write the work, you having to edit it.
MMJ, multimedia journalist. Getting into the lingo here, but yeah. So that was, you were in Atlanta, and then you came back to Harrisburg in 2017.
And actually, Harrisburg, CBS 21 is where I got my start.
Oh, okay, so you started at CBS 21.
Started at CBS 21.
Got it, okay. So
and then from CBS 21, I went on to WMDT, ABC 47.
Were you on air at CBS 21?
I was on air sparingly.
Do you remember who the news director was back then?
The news director was Craig Hume.
Okay.
And shout out to Rob Hanrahan. May he rest in peace. He was very, very instrumental in what I wanted to do. He's the one that told me, you know, you're kind of doing things old school. You need to take your demo reel and not have it on a CD, but put it on YouTube. You know, now is the day to have stuff on YouTube. First coming in as a production assistant, he told me, you know, you dress for the job you want, not for the job you have. And he was like, if you want to be a news reporter, then dress like one. Come here, dress like one. And sure enough, you know, that next day, I started coming in not T-shirts and hoodies, but, you know, shirts and ties and everything. And then that's what then graduated me to be on air every now and then.
Everyone's got an anecdote and a story about Rob Hanrahan, because that's just how much he meant to so many people. And I had not heard that one before, and that's tremendous. Yeah, that's incredible. You were able to come back and re-find your love, your initial love with radio and WITF.
Yes.
And then, but the Melanin Report is relatively new, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, it is.
So what was it that was it just kind of biding your time at WITF, doing things behind the scenes? Here's my pitch. Here's my demo. Give me a chance. Let me get on the mic and I'll prove to you that I'm your guy. Is that kind of what it was?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Maybe, but you know what? Yes, and. Okay. Prior to coming to WITF, and moving out of South Jersey, there was about a five-year span where I ran a digital media company called TCP Network.
Okay.
And TCP Network, TCP stands for the culture professional. Hate the word urban. And what it was, TCP actually started from my time at NBC 40. Again, being taken off of great human interest stories. That stuff with the network, with them, they didn't want stories of neighbors helping neighbors. They wanted us to show the looting. You know, they wanted us to show stuff in the middle of the ocean and everything like that. Like, they weren't interested in, oh, well, this neighbor has 6 of their neighbors staying in their house, because the other 6 neighbors, their homes are flooded. Those aren't the things that they wanted to see. They wanted to see the destruction. So TCP was birthed from that, because I got frustrated. I got frustrated with that trope. If it bleeds, it leads. Yeah. So we wanted to cover those stories, those names, those faces and places that fall in between the cracks. And that's exactly what we did for 5 years. And then when the summer of protesting came, especially in Lancaster County, we were on the front lines, so to speak. We have 2 20-minute pieces right now on YouTube that shows from in the trenches of the protest, exactly the emotions, the pain points, you know, and we're showing the tears, the screaming, you know, and then ultimately the marching, and just troves and troves of people in the street, you know, expressing their hurt, you know, because of George Floyd. And this is all happening during the pandemic shutdown.
Yeah, right.
So you see people with masks
Yep.
on, and everything, and it's just it's a strong piece. Both of them very, very strong pieces that like capture that moment, and like that's one of the things that I'm very, very proud of, because we were able to get into places that the traditional networks weren't, and it got to a point where we were sending stuff to ABC 27, to WGAL, to Lancaster newspaper, and we even put it up for a daytime Emmy nomination. So it was that work with TCP. When I saw the weekend opening at WITF, it was like, oh my God, you know, because I always wanted to get back to radio. Like, even though I had this news reporter career and everything, it was just like I wanted to get back to my first love.
So was WITF looking for someone to kind of fill a specific sort of show that they wanted to do in the wake of kind of that summer of protest?
No, they just wanted a weekend body.
Okay. And you were able to take that and kind of mold it into what you wanted it to do.
Yeah. What it was is started out on the weekends, and I'm guessing because like I don't have a traditional radio voice or anything like that, and then I have this news training background. It was just a different feel, a different flow, and it really, the audience loved it, you know, to the point that 4 months in, they said, "Hey, are you interested in a full-time job here?" You know, and I was dwindling things down with TCP, because that was my full-time everything, and I made that transition, and it was seamless. And then started off as the sound engineer for the Spark, and then because I did TCP, I was like, hey guys, you know, I'm not just this sound engineer, like I can do stuff.
Yeah, right.
You know, so I showed them the stuff that I did, and they were like, all right, well, show us what you can do. And that was really the first challenge of creating the Melanin Report.
Is the Melanin Report essentially what you're doing TCP just with just in radio form?
Yes, absolutely. For TCP, for 2 years we ran a morning show. And this morning show was your untraditional morning show. Like, we used slang, we played music, and the stories that we covered, they were localized, but it was it had a black and brown approach to it. Again, we focus less on the death and destruction and more on ordinary folks doing extraordinary things.
How important is it for you to kind of, especially in, we all know, and you know from growing up in Lancaster, I grew up here in Harrisburg, Susquehanna Township, but the ability to have the representation in whether it's traditional forms of media, it lacks. It has lacked for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Even nationally, I mean, it's lacked. I mean, probably just in the last decade or so, we see stuff like the Breakfast Club coming into form of having that type of representation, and it's so important, and it's huge. It's massive.
Yeah.
And we see it more now that, you know, things like digital radio, satellite radio, stuff like that is becoming more commonplace and popular. But when you took over and started doing the Melanin Report, which, and I'll let you kind of explain exactly what it is, but that focuses on African American issues, black and brown issues. Were you thinking at the time, like, this is a necessary void that needs to be filled here in central Pennsylvania?
Yes. To give some background on it, I graduated from Morgan State University with my master's in media management back in 2010. So from being there, I worked at CNN for the Situation Room and for the Pentagon unit. And I saw a lack of diversity there. Prior to that, I had an internship for CBS The Early Show down in Washington, D.C., which I saw the complete opposite. I saw a very diverse crew, so I wrote my paper on my thesis paper on the disappearance of me. And during that time, 2010, when you looked at the statistics of Black and brown folks on TV and broadcast media, we were at the same clip as we were in the 1970s.
Wow.
And that was mostly because some people said, well, it's because at that time we have an African-American president. So having the president on the screen, that's your Black representation right there. So
we've filled our quota.
Yeah. And
which is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Right. And I don't see too much of an improvement from that. If anything, I'm seeing us become, in some instances, less diverse on the screen. But what I would really like to see is more diversity in the decision-making room. The producers,
Yes.
the assignment editors, the news directors. I would like to see more diversity there so that, we don't have this one-size-fits-all way of thinking when we come to think about what's newsworthy and what is not, worthy enough to be on the rundown.
What was it with the Melanin Report where you kind of was there like an aha moment where you started doing it, because you just started in last year in 2023, right?
Yep.
So you're still kind of in the infancy stages. Are you still going to do it when you start doing the Spark?
Yeah.
Okay.
Season 1 finished now, 50 episodes, and season 2, and right now I'm doing stuff like this. I'm getting feedback from audience members, from coworkers that listen to it, because I'm not looking at this as, oh, this is just I do it one time and that's it. But this is something that folks can continuously go back to. They can go back to episode 3 4 years from now. They can go back to episode 7, 2 years from now.
So was there something where, you call it an aha moment or so, where you realize, okay, this is working. Talking about these issues is working for Central Pennsylvania listeners?
Yeah, it was. It happened a couple times just in regular conversation. I'll be at a birthday party. For example, this happened at Springhouse Brewery in Lancaster. I'm sitting down talking to a complete stranger about what they heard about toilet paper on the Melanin Report.
Yeah.
And they told me that, they never looked at toilet paper as being a detriment to their health, and that they have now switched toilet paper from regular paper to bamboo, and they're like the information that you had.
Bamboo toilet paper?
Bamboo toilet paper.
Educate me, please.
There's toilet paper that is bamboo based, and it doesn't have the chlorine, it doesn't have the bleach, and it doesn't have the other PFAs in it that traditional toilet paper has. So if the toilet paper is fluffier, if it's softer, if it smells better, it has the most chemicals in it. And where you're wiping, that's where that has the highest amount of absorption in the body. So it's these kind of things that we're talking about on the Melanin Report.
I am fascinated by that. I've never heard of bamboo toilet paper before, or the fact that it has fewer chemicals, or the fact that the toilet paper that I may or may not use is full of chemicals.
Yeah.
Go for comfort.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And like, I made a joke.
But comfort equals chemicals.
Right. I made a joke on the show. Like, you know what? This might be the only time in history that being cheap actually might save your life.
That's wild. I got to look this up more. All right. I want to shift to the Spark.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Lamar is a legend in local broadcasting.
Yes.
Incredible journalist and on-air presence for so long.
Mm-hmm.
I've had the pleasure of being a guest of his a few times, and he's just one of the great professionals.
Mm-hmm.
How did that all come about with you being his replacement?
As I became the sound engineer, I became a part of the team. And on the team at that point, it was Scott, Anaya, and myself, because their sound engineer Craig Rhodes retired. So I'm there, and Anaya at the time, she's pregnant. So there is this discussion about, okay, well, she's going to eventually go on leave, and they've been doing this two-part show for a while now. So what's going to happen when she leaves and everything? And during that meeting, I felt like, okay, well, this might be my shot. So, I raised my hand, and I was like, well, I can fill in from time to time for Anaya to help out Scott. I have the experience, and they were like, okay, cool. And it turned from just now and then. Anaya, she ended up getting another position elsewhere. So when she resigned from WITF, it just left this opening, and they weren't sure what they were going to do with it. And again, I was like, well, I'll take my opportunity here. The worst thing that they can say is, shut up, be a sound engineer. So I was like, hey, I don't want to be forceful or anything, but I can do what Anaya did, and I've been doing it for like 2 months now. So, I can hold this thing over until we figure it out.
I love how the way you're going about doing this is like very sheepish, like I can do it. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, give me the damn job. Like, I know I can do this. I know I'm good enough to.
Yeah,
you've seen my work.
Yeah, and that's how I felt. But like, overconfidence can sometimes scare people.
Absolutely.
So like I didn't,
and especially coming from a black person.
Yes.
Like that is could be a massive turnoff to the wrong person.
Exactly. And it may come off as arrogance. So it's like, all right, well, I didn't want to say, well, hey, this guy right here.
Right.
So it and also,
right,
like, your decision makers have to make the decision.
Yes.
You don't make it for them. So it was like, guys, I'm available. If you want to utilize me, great. And they did. And they have given me the opportunity. And I mean, Scott has been nothing
He's been in your
short
corner.
of amazing. Oh, my goodness. Like,
that's awesome.
Scott is I could have a thug tear come down right now. Like Scott is my biggest advocate in there.
That's huge.
And just every day, just interacting, speaking with Scott, it's like being at the griot's table, just getting all this information, all this knowledge that I feel like I wouldn't get elsewhere.
And you're just sponging it up
all
over the place. So how do you make the spark with Marquis Lupton instead of Scott Lamar's The Spark featuring Marquis Lupton?
Well, I've been comparing this a lot to the Jon Stewart Trevor Noah transition.
Yeah. Great, and I was thinking the same thing.
Like there's going to be that traditional feel to it. Not going to ostracize or forget the folks, the fans, the viewers that made the spark, that have listened to Scott Lamar over the decades. We're not going to get rid of that, but we're also going to add a new flavor to it because I'm 25 years younger than Scott. I'm obviously a black guy. And now we're going to be using more of the digital space with TikTok and YouTube and Facebook.
Purposely marketing to a younger audience.
Exactly.
And doing that for radio is extraordinarily hard.
Yeah.
I don't need to tell you that, but
yeah.
That's a challenge.
Yeah. But
utilizing the digital space at least makes it if it's a podcast or if it's on YouTube, well then okay, you're still getting the message out. You're still getting the clicks and the views and the whatnot. It just may not register on the dial.
Right. And now it's really marrying what I did with TCP for the past 5 years to now marrying that with the Spark, because on a TCP page, we got about 9,000 followers. You know, so we were able to build it up pretty well. So I'm taking that same kind of model approach of, you know, we take it to the people. That was one thing with TCP. I didn't want to have this, you know, field of dreams kind of thing. If you build it, they will come. Like, no, we're going to build it where the people are.
Yeah.
So with that kind of mindset, you know, for the Spark, over the summertime, you're going to see us out and about a lot more. You know,
That's awesome.
What I like to say is
That's huge.
Shaking hands and kissing babies.
Yeah,
you know,
no, you got to do it. So, all right. So let me end on this. This is a massive kind of moment in your life.
Yes.
2024, and I'm not sure when your birthday is, but you're hovering right around 40 years old at this point. What does the next 10 years look like in your ideal world? What does the next 10 years look like for you?
The next 10 years look like starting something new and creative with the Spark. Starting something new and creative with WITF. What I would really love, and I've been sitting on this idea ever since 2014. I would really love for WITF to do its own rendition of the Tonight Show. Have all those elements of a Tonight Show, but just localize it.
Yeah.
And I feel like everything is already there at WITF. We just have to get the people in to do it.
It's a great campus. You have the people in the region to do it.
Yes.
There's enough interesting people here, really interesting people here to make it work. I love that idea. If there's any way that I can help out, you guys have a lasting partner in the city of Harrisburg.
Thank you.
And someone in me that gets what you're trying to do
Yes.
and loves to hear everything that you're trying to do there. It's great that you're able to stop by and have this conversation with us.
Yes.
We said we usually go 15, 20 minutes. I think we went close to 35.
Hey.
Could go another 25.
Yeah, right.
But we got to wrap it up. Marquis Lupton, host of the Melanin Report on WITF, soon to be host starting when? Of the Spark?
June 1st. Scott officially retires May 31st. So it's coming up.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you so
Love
much.
to hear it, and I look forward to having more conversations with you.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's The Word, Harrisburg. Thank you again so much for joining us here on WHBG TV, Channel 20, and hope you have a great start to your spring here in the city of Harrisburg. We'll see you out and about. Take care.